All right, so the Mongrel Pirate Academy came out with the How to Do Piracy in Star Citizen 318 video, and yeah, I saved this one to watch with you guys because I definitely want to take part. I've really stayed away from this type of content in 318 for now because I want to just sink my teeth into it heavy when the patch actually goes live, and I don't want to burn out on it. I think we all know Star Citizen isn't ready yet, and it's easy to burn out quite quickly. So I want to enjoy the real fruits of 318 when it's time. So I'm willing to wait, but what a perfect opportunity to kind of learn what to do before we start doing it.
This episode of the Mongrel Pirate Academy is going to cover how to do piracy in 318 using our piracy framework to build up our methodology. To get the most out of this video, it is highly advised that you watch our 318 patch info dump and our piracy framework videos so that you understand why we're making the recommendations that we're making.
Okay, I watched all those already, but this is the one I think I was waiting for.
During 2022, we saw a significant increase in combat logging with players intentionally exploiting crash recovery mechanics to cause their ship to disappear and allow them to recover with their cargo intact.
Very frustrating,
CIG
yes.
has slowly been working on fixes for this, with Alt F4 resulting in players' ships persisting, dependent on server health for long enough for it to slow down to a speed where we could board it in EVA. Once this
it even slows down for you now.
Was becoming more common, players switched to using bed logging to cause their ship to instantly disappear.
You know, I understand the want for realism in this game for certain things.
Oh, damn.
Shit.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
318 is the first patch where logging out through the bed in combat is no longer possible, and persistent entity streaming means that their ships will persist long enough for us to board once it slows down to EVA speeds. The most likely course of action is that early on in this patch, players will attempt their combat logging methods. When they realize that that doesn't work, we will see more players initiating self-destruction to deny as much of their cargo to player pilots using the mentality that if they can't win, they'll make sure that we lose.
Yep.
Fortunately, we will still be able to recover cargo from the wreckage, as well as salvage
And that's where soft death is like king.
the wreck itself. What we hope to see is an increase of
Hey, this was one of the most fun experiences I've had. I just happened to have a railgun with me while rock mining, and we were talking about this earlier. Just being in a ship has such an advantage against ground players, but if you catch them
players
sleeping,
banding together to use convoy tactics and group contracts to hire players to provide security for them.
You might get a couple
This
of
is
them.
the most likely course.
So for me, instead of self-destructing so they lose, for me, I won even though I lost because I took a few of them out. You know, it was like 5v1 and I got 2 of them. I think maybe 3. And it just was like, yeah, man, that was good. You got me, but I got a few of you too.
Course of action for active organizations with solo players trying their luck on their own. With these considerations in mind, we recommend that pirates disregard the use of distortion weapons to disable targets until the next pass CIG makes on them.
Yeah, because you could still self-destruct your ship when in a distorted state. Like you're shut down from distortion, but I don't think you can if you're in soft death.
This is because the counter to pirates using distortion damage is the following. Maximum capacitor power to shields.
Okay, maybe not. I thought this is something else.
Accelerate the ship to maximum speed. Initiate self-destruct.
Okay, yeah.
And Alt F4 from the server. What this results in is the target ship self-destructing on the move with its cargo being strewn out over tens of kilometers due to the high speed, making it extremely difficult to track down the wreckage and cargo that survived the explosion.
Pretty slick.
This means that we recommend putting ships into the soft death state.
Yeah,
but
soft
this
death
will
is
also
king.
result in the members of your team ending up with criminal charges against them if they perform the hit within comm array range. Therefore, it is recommended that you switch off the comm arrays prior to hitting the targets, and the closer to the time that you strike, the less likely the target is going to get antsy and switch servers.
The shutting off a comm array is a thing people sleep on, and I think that there's a pretty big change in 3.18 in relation to that, where it is way more of a viable option.
Now let's talk about how all of this relates to the 4 methods of piracy, starting with extortion. Extortion is best
Thanks,
against miners and cargo haulers moving commodities that you cannot sell at any NQA terminals. The equipment that you need to perform extortion is a QED, distortion weapons, and highly destructive lethal weapons. And the methods for extortion have not changed, where you simply just find the target, you prevent them from entering quantum travel, and then you make your demands. Now, if you do this against cargo haulers that are moving commodities that you can sell at NQA terminals, then it's possible that you will get a much greater payout if the
I wonder if there's a list of what sells and for how much at the no questions asked terminals. I don't know what it is.
pilot of the
Maybe
target
that's something I could do this week, is investigate that a little bit.
ship decides to Alt F4. Now let's move on to ransom. Ransom is best used against cargo haulers moving commodities that you cannot sell at NQA terminals, and this can also be used against regular commodity haulers as well. Now, the equipment that you need is the same as extortion, although for this, you will need a boarding team. And the method for ransom has not changed either. You just find the target, prevent quantum travel, disable the ship using distortion damage, wait until the target is below EVA speeds, breach, board, and seize the ship from the owner, and then make your demands. If they comply, you deliver the ship to the target.
It's interesting. These first 2 types have been using distortion, though, where they aren't recommending it.
And if they don't, you move the ship out to dead space, transfer the cargo to your own ship, salvage the ship, and then move everything to sell at the NQA terminal.
Salvage the ship.
You can
so
certainly
savage.
put the ship into a soft death state, but keep in mind, it's going to be a lot harder to try and convince the target of the authenticity of your ransom demand. If you soft kill the ship and then they somehow manage to comply with your demands, you'll have to add them to the party so they can jump to their own ship and then do what they will with it. But if they don't comply, you won't be able to move the ship anywhere, and you'll just be forced to do your logistical part of the piracy hit right there where it happened. Now we're going to move on to looting. Looting is best against cargo haulers moving.
Looting is going to be the main way of doing it in 3.18, I think. These other ways are kind of the old ways, and like they said about distortion, it's a little iffy.
Commodities that you can sell at NQA terminals, and this also applies to rock miners. The equipment that you need to do this is a QED, you need highly destructive lethal weapons, you need a salvaging ship, you need a cargo hauler, and you need a boarding team. The methods of looting have also not changed that much, and it's very similar to the rest of the methods, where you find the target, you prevent quantum travel, you disable the ship by soft death using careful, measured, lethal weapons. Once the ship comes to a stop, you breach, board, and seize the ship, kill the entire crew, transfer the cargo to your own ship, salvage the ship, and then move everything to sell
the ship is part of it. It's so fun.
At the NQA terminals. Hunting rock miners follows pretty much the same principle, where you find the target, you lock it down with a QED, you disable the ship, dispose of the rock miner, transfer the gems into your inventory, salvage the ship, the rock, and then move everything to sell at the commodity terminals. Moving on to the last method, scooping, which is by far the easiest and simplest to explain. Now with persistent entity streaming and salvaging coming in 3.18, scooping works on everybody.
Okay.
The equipment that you need remains the same for all of the other methods, and all you need to do is just find the target, destroy the target outright, transfer any of the surviving cargo that they have around their ship, salvage the wreck, and then move to sell all of it at the NQA terminals. When it comes to what we call claim jumping and hitting prospectors while they're out mining, all you need is highly destructive lethal weapons and a mining ship. When you find them as they're mining, you pop the target, destroy them, scoop up any of the remaining ore.
No. You wait until they do the initial break, then you pop
They
them.
were mining, salvage the wreck, and then move to the refinery to sell or refine the ore that you've collected from them. So, in this video, we've outlined how to pirate using all of the different methods that you can use within the limitations of the 3.18 patch and the tactical considerations that you need to make in order to be successful. So, we'd like to thank you for watching.
You know what's interesting? I guess because there is no real value in FPS player loot right now. They're not like using medical beacons. There's nothing related to pirating like SPK or anything like really FPS-y, I've noticed. Like they do have boarding crews, but there's no FPS focused piracy yet because there's no commodity or thing of value, but there will be. And at some point there's gonna be. And yeah, I'm kind of itching for that. But one day when there's some like valuable armor, I feel like there's going to be a whole nother section of piracy that's going to come in. That was a really, really good video, really useful. And that's definitely one of the things that I'm really looking forward to in 3.18 is, grouping up with some pirate groups that I'm friends with and just go along for the ride and see how it is and then play with my own friends and hopefully take some of that knowledge, It's going to be cool. Really cool. And that video was super useful. So let me link it to you guys if you haven't seen it yet so you can kind of watch it a few times because I feel like you might need to. And yeah, that was Mongrel Squad, how to do piracy in 3.18.